In 2013, Carolyn McCollum called me and said that she wanted to make a gift to FaithWorks. We were delighted to hear from her, certainly, but we were surprised at the enormity of her gift. She wanted to give a house that we might be able to use in our ministry in some form or fashion.
I wanted to be sure that that was the right thing, and I was talking to God and He was talking to me, and finally I decided that that would be the right thing because our children and my nieces and nephews and brother all own their own home. So I felt like it could go to someone that needed a home for a while. And then when those folks got on their feet, maybe they could pass it on to another person.
On the day that I was to pick up the keys from the family, I had to stop by College Place United Methodist Church to pick up some papers from their pastor who had been holding them for me. And as I walked into the church office, Trudy, the secretary, was on the phone, and I waited until she finished the conversation. And as she hung up the phone, she just simply said to me, "That's such a sad story." And I said, "Tell me what's going on." And she relayed to me a story of Robert Kelly, who was a member of that church, and he and his family had been at that church for some time. And Robert had suffered a serious injury. And because of that, his life spiraled out of control, as well did the life of his family.
Approximately this time last year, Robert lost his job and didn't receive his last paycheck. So it kind of put us in a downhill slump for almost a month. We ran across Mr. Arthur Sanders across Facebook, and he landed Robert with a great job. Great man of God. Invited us to his church. Meanwhile, I was at football practice with my youngest, where Coach Billy invited me to his church, and it just happened to be the same church. So we went one Sunday, and we ended up becoming members, I think 2 months later. Yeah. Love College Place. It's our heart. Our family is there. That's our home. They have done so much for us. It's amazing. Really, really amazing. Things were going good. We were going to church. In November, I got the phone call at work that he had fell off a ladder and hurt himself. But he was just going home. He thought he was okay. He thought he just sprained his ankles. Then when I got home, it was no just sprained ankles. They were swollen. So the next morning, he goes to Apple Care, where they sent him to the hospital immediately. Ended up being crushed both of his heels, fractured his ankles, and immediate surgery that day. Couldn't do surgery that day because he ended up having all this swelling. So I think we waited 2 weeks before we ended up having surgery, and he had to go through all that pain and suffering. The church came out and built us a wheelchair ramp so that he could easily access everything, and we switched around the house so that he could grab and do what he could do. My oldest carried him back and forth across the yard if he needed to. And the church just took us in their arms and took care of us so much. They helped us with Thanksgiving and Christmas and food, and you name it, they helped. Then we thought we saw a light after the beginning of the year. Things were turning around, everything was going good, checks were coming in with workman's comp, and then all of a sudden they kind of would skip a week here or skip a week there. And then we went about 3 or 4 weeks without even getting a check, and the bills were just racking up. I was working 2 jobs and could not keep up with anything. So we ended up being evicted in July.
I think my lowest moment was when we did have to actually start packing stuff up and put in storage shed and stuff, and had nowhere to go. I think that's been a real low moment for me, because that hurts me. I'm a man. With the Lord's help, I should be able to take care of my family and stuff, and I couldn't. It was out of my hands and stuff.
But we stayed at Jekyll Campground for approximately 3 weeks. Great place if you ever want to go camp, if you want to go camp. I didn't particularly want to, so I didn't enjoy it too much. But then all of a sudden I got a phone call from my Sunday school teacher. She happened to be talking to the secretary in our church, and Mr. Culpepper happened to be walking by at the same time. They were talking about us being homeless and that we needed a place to stay. And just so happens this house had become available 2 weeks prior.
I said to Trudy, Trudy, I can't promise you anything right now. I'm really not sure what condition the house is in, but I'll be glad to talk to Robert and to see if we might be able to help him out in some way. So I went by and picked up the key and walked through the house and realized that there needed to be some cleaning, and there needed to be a lot of painting, and there needed to be some work that needed to be done. It turns out Robert met me later that day, and Robert was a painter. And Robert said, we could get this done.
So we ended up talking to Mr. Culpepper, and just like with a snap of our fingers, God gave us a house. Here's you a place to live. It needs fixing up, but I'll supply the supplies, you do the work. We got volunteers, let's do it.
We let it out that we had this house and that we had this family, and we wanted to put the two of them together. And people made contributions, and volunteers showed up, and Lowe's gave us a tremendous discount on some appliances and flooring and air conditioning. And in a very short order, that house was pulled together, and Robert and his family moved in and are there to stay till the end of the year at no cost to them as they begin to put their life back together and as they begin to make plans for the future.
When Mr. Culpepper called me and said that they were going to move someone in there, it made me so happy because I feel like that it's alive again.
And it's just been blessing after blessing after blessing each and every single day. Being here to be able to see the progression of the house from old to new kind of reminds me of us from old to new. It's like watching us grow in the Lord, watching the house get built.
You never know what kind of difference you might make in the life of someone else when you've got something that you have to give and you share it with someone else. We're very grateful for Carolyn McCollum's gift. We're very grateful for Robert Kelly and his wife being a part of our life and our ministry together.